Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're getting into something really crucial for anyone in the hotel and restaurant game.
Yeah, we're talking about how understanding cultural differences around dining can seriously impact your business.
Exactly. We've been looking at some great insights from Maurice, who's a real expert in hospitality, especially food and beverage.
He really knows his stuff.
Uh,
And Maurice highlights how these cultural nuances around food aren't just nice to have, they're fundamental to connecting with guests.
Absolutely. So we're going to explore five key areas Maurice points out where these differences really show up. Think of it as, essential knowledge for attracting and keeping a diverse customer base.
Right, it's about making everyone feel genuinely welcome and understood.
And it kicks off with a pretty big contrast, Maurice notes. This idea of collective versus individual dining experiences. You see it often, right? Like the difference between a big shared Asian meal and maybe more typical Western individual plates.
Definitely. That's a great starting point.
So the big question for you listening is, are your dining experiences truly set up to appeal across these cultural preferences? Are you potentially missing out?
Let's dive into that first point then, collective versus individual. Maurice observes that many Asian cultures really emphasize, shared meals.
Mm-mm.
Food is deeply social.
It's about connection, sharing dishes, the whole experience together.
Exactly. Whereas in many Western cultures, while socializing happens, the focus often tends to lean more towards the individual plate, personal choice.
Okay, so if you're a hotel or restaurant owner, how do you actually use that insight? What does Maurice suggest?
Well, one really practical thing is to think about offering family-style menus or dishes specifically designed for sharing.
Ah, okay. So that immediately signals to certain groups, hey, we get how you like to eat.
Precisely. It shows you cater to that communal approach. And it's not just the food itself. Maurice also talks about the physical space.
The environment, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
How's your dining room set up? He mentions round tables, for example. They just naturally foster more interaction and make sharing easier.
makes sense. Like in traditional Chinese restaurants, Maurice points out, with the round tables and often those lazy Susans.
Exactly. It's not just tradition for tradition's sake. It's highly functional for that shared experience. Everyone gets a bit of everything. Everyone's involved.
It's a cultural practice built right into the furniture.
It is. And it sends a message.
Mm.
But Maurice also adds a little tip here. This trend of sharing isn't just for specific cultures anymore.
Oh, yeah.
Think about appetizer platters, tapas, fondue, big pizzas.
Mhm.
Even among Western customers, there's this growing desire for more shared food experiences.
So embracing that format can actually have broader appeal. That's smart.
Definitely. Okay, let's shift a bit to aesthetics, how food looks.
Ah, presentation. Yeah, Maurice notes some interesting differences here too.
He does.
Good.
He points out that in many Asian traditions, food presentation is often about balance, harmony, maybe a certain subtlety.
Right, the overall composition. Whereas in the West, maybe the focus is sometimes more on, say, generous portions or that really visually striking, Instagrammable shot.
Kind of, yeah. Not always, but there's a different emphasis sometimes. So Maurice's advice here is to be mindful of that.
So adapt the plating.
Adapt the plating. Maybe, for some guests, a more minimalist, harmonious arrangement feels right. For others, something bold and visually arresting works better. Know your audience, essentially.
And Maurice says this extends beyond the plate too, right? To the whole restaurant's look and feel.
Absolutely. He suggests things like incorporating natural elements, maybe even some asymmetry in the decor, trying to create a sort of calming Zen atmosphere that can resonate particularly well with some Asian sensibilities.
Interesting. He gives an example, doesn't he? Wabi-sabi.
Yeah, the Japanese concept of wabi-sabi, finding beauty in imperfection and natural simplicity. Think handcrafted bowls, maybe, instead of perfectly uniform ones. Subtle details.
It's about appreciating authenticity over, like, slick perfection.
Exactly. It creates a different kind of connection. And a neat bonus tip Maurice offers is adding interactive elements, like DIY bowls, build your own ramen or poke or whatever. It gives guests control over their meal's look and adds a fun, memorable experience.
Oh, I like that. Okay, what about food nostalgia? That sounds intriguing.
It is. Maurice observes that we connect with food memories differently across cultures.
How so?
Well, in the West, he suggests, food nostalgia often links back to specific things, like childhood memories or happy occasions. Comfort food that reminds you of being a kid.
Like mac and cheese or maybe grandma's apple pie, that kind of thing.
Right. Whereas in many Asian cultures, Maurice notes, those food memories might be more woven into the fabric of daily life, tied to ongoing family traditions or seasonal rituals, perhaps.
Okay, so less about a specific past event and more about continuous cultural practice.
Sort of, yeah. A different flavor of nostalgia. So for owners, this means thinking about how you tap into that.
So for Western customers, maybe highlighting those retro dishes or classic comfort foods in your marketing.
Exactly. Maurice gives the example of American diners doing like 80s nights with the burgers and milkshakes
Right.
from that era. It hits that specific nostalgic note.
Fun. And for Asian clientele.
He suggests thinking about special events that celebrate culinary traditions more directly. Maybe a special menu for Lunar New Year, or featuring recipes passed down through generations.
Going beyond just the food itself.
Right, and his bonus tip here is really cool. Incorporate living cultural elements, like host a dumpling making workshop or a traditional tea demonstration.
Ah, so it becomes interactive and connects guests to their heritage. Very powerful.
Yeah, it creates a much deeper connection than just eating. Okay, next up, culinary fusion.
Always a hot topic.
Yeah.
What's Maurice's take?
He observes an interesting tendency. Asian customers are often quite open to variations on traditional recipes, new twists on familiar things,
Okay.
while Western diners often really enjoy those more, let's say, innovative concepts that boldly blend different influences together. Think really surprising combinations.
So different appetites for fusion, potentially.
Potentially, yeah. Or at least different kinds of fusion might appeal differently. So the advice is pretty clear. Embrace fusion.
Makes sense in today's globalized world.
Totally. Offer well-thought-out fusion dishes. Blend local ingredients with international flavors. Don't be afraid to experiment with techniques and combinations that might seem unexpected.
Maurice gives some examples, right? Like Californian sushi.
Yeah, or Korean tacos, kimchi pizza. These things work. They show how creatively blending traditions can lead to really popular, exciting food.
So it's about thoughtful creativity.
Exactly. And his bonus tip ties back to that interactive idea. Let customers co-create a bit. Maybe customizable bases for salads or poke bowls, but offer global flavor options for the toppings and sauces.
Puts the diner in the driver's seat. Nice. Okay, last key area. Wellness and food.
Right. And again, Maurice points out a cultural difference in perspective here.
How so?
In many Asian cultures, food is often seen very holistically as a way to maintain balance, energy, overall well-being. It's fundamental to health.
Food is medicine, almost. Or at least food is balance.
Something like that, yeah.
Yeah.
Whereas in the West, dietary wellness often focuses more on specific regimes, low-carb, vegan, gluten-free, targeting particular health goals or restrictions.
Okay, different angles on healthy eating.
Definitely. So for owners, Maurice suggests highlighting dishes that emphasize that sense of balance and natural nutrition. Light soups, vegetable-heavy bowls, things that feel inherently nourishing.
Rather than just focusing on what's not in the dish, like low fat or low sugar.
Right. And, crucially, educate your customers. Use menu descriptions to talk about the ingredients and their benefits.
Tell the story of the food.
Exactly. That really resonates with the mindset that sees food as intrinsically linked to well-being. Maurice mentions how some Japanese restaurants might include little notes about the benefits of seaweed or miso.
Adds value and connects with that cultural understanding.
It does. And his final tip here is maybe even creating a dedicated wellness menu.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah, where each dish comes with a little explanation of its health benefits. It's proactive and educational.
So, pulling all this together, Maurice is essentially saying that understanding these cultural differences is, well, it's not optional anymore, is it?
Not if you want to succeed with a diverse clientele. It's a competitive necessity, really. It's smart business.
Because getting this right means you're not just selling food, you're creating experiences, building loyalty, and, frankly, attracting more customers.
Absolutely. It's about adapting your menus, yes, but also your ambiance, your service style, your marketing, everything.
And Maurice offers 3 concrete takeaways for owners listening right now. Things you could start thinking about immediately.
Yep. First, train your staff. Make sure they understand and appreciate these cultural and culinary differences. That's foundational.
Okay.
Second,
Innovate your menu. Integrate thoughtful fusion options. Bring in dishes inspired by diverse traditions. Keep it fresh and relevant.
makes sense. And third,
Organize special events. Use them to celebrate different cultures, build connections, show you're engaged beyond just the everyday menu. Great actionable points. So the final thought for everyone listening, especially hotel and restaurant owners.
yeah, the question Maurice leaves us with is, how can you tailor what you offer your food, your space, your service, even more effectively to resonate deeply with the diverse cultural backgrounds of your guests?
Which of these ideas could you maybe implement pretty soon. What small change might unlock a new level of connection and success? Lots to think about.
Definitely.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.